Alright, so this video that I was watching is very important that I feel like a lot of people need to watch, but more specifically beta males and simps and all them other slangs for non-traditional men. And you know what? Women should watch this too, just so they can have a little bit of a wake-up call and some reality of just how good they truly have it, and some stats, facts, and reality. Because they like to play the victim all the time. But guess what? You're not actually so much a victim like you think you are. And this video basically goes to show that men are, just like the title says, second-class citizens. So here you go.
Civil rights movements across the country over the past 50 years claim to have moved mountains to find equality for all in the eyes of the law. But when it comes to custodial rulings in family courts, the numbers show a very different story. Courts rule in favor of moms 5 out of 6 times. Can it be that in the millions of custody cases heard across the country, that only 15% of dads are fit to be the custodial parent? Famed LA-based attorney Gloria Allred once said, "Parties get as much justice as they can afford." So much so that the family law industry has exploded into a $50 billion a year business. As I began my research on this taboo topic, I began to wonder why this issue was taboo in the first place. If the topic were that a certain minority group was being disenfranchised or systematically discriminated against in, say, for example, civil courts or criminal courts, we would have heard an outcry from civil rights groups all across the country. There would be protests in the streets. But when millions of men seek fair treatment in the eyes of the family courts, our society turns the other way, ordering them to accept the rubber stamp ruling in mom's favor. Take them like marching orders to war, suck it up, and simply do as you're ordered. The numbers show that custodial mothers were about twice as likely to live in poverty as compared to custodial fathers. So the children who were granted over to mom are more likely to be impoverished than those who live with dad. Despite financial difficulties, courts continue to give mothers custodial rights year after year. Not much has changed in 20 years. And the argument of what's best for the kids? Well, modern-day mental health experts almost all agree, barring those with drug, alcohol, or other abuse issues, gender of parents aside, it's in the best interest of all children to have both parents equally in their lives. Still, only 1 out of 6 dads are likely to be the custodial parent. Child support is probably one of the more contentious areas of child custody. Those who pay out often feel they're paying too much, while those who receive say it's not enough. America is in the red by about $113 billion in back child support. The presumption of deadbeat dads are surely buzzing your head by now, but these sky-high numbers many times stem from dads who simply cannot pay. Those who live in states that have rigid child support charts and do not forgive men who are not high-income earners, or dads who have been incarcerated. Child support arrears quickly becomes crushing debt. Child support ranges from 20% of your net income all the way up to 40% for up to 6 kids. For those who have been surprised by the news that they were fathers years later, to those who have hit hard times, or those who are paying their debt to society, child support is one area that allows for modern-day debtors' prisons. The law recognizes no difference between deadbeat from dead broke, and yet, when mom wins custody 85% of the time, her income level is never in question. Dad is punished by this outdated system when he does not meet certain income thresholds. So should only the rich be afforded the rights to see, have, or be near their children? In 1975, President Gerald Ford signed into law Section 4D of the Social Security Act, which placed court-ordered child support funds to fall under the umbrella of social programs such as welfare, TANF, and the like. As such, the amount of child support the custodial parent receives from the non-custodial parent is directly tied to the number of days the non-custodial parent receives from the court. The fewer days granted to the visiting parent, the more money that is due to the custodial parent. Numbers, which are filed into the federal system, by way of the family court. This 1975 system was intended to hold men who did not want to be responsible for their children accountable, not the men who want to be an active parent in their child's life. Those men are simply swept into an outdated system that was meant to bridge the gap and keep women off of welfare and out of poverty. But in 1975, the gender landscape looked different. Today, there are more women graduating college than men. That number is quadruple what it was in the 1970s. Women account for almost exactly half of the workforce in the U.S. at 47%. And today, working moms are the societal norm. 75% of modern moms have full-time jobs. But yet, the rules and guidelines surrounding child support remain based on this severely outdated law. And these aren't just numbers from the U.S. Census Bureau or Centers for Disease Control. These are real people with real stories that share one glaring common denominator. They're all men who have had their role of father diminished by the court. More than half a century into the women's movement now, perhaps one of its most profound effects was to rightfully convince men that child-rearing was not solely the job of the woman, that it too was also the responsibility of the man to be a parent. And today's modern man simply wants to be equal to his female counterpart in the lives of his children. And with the countless stories of deadbeat dads or disappearing dads and the ones who simply don't care, why then do courts take away the dads who do?
If you're not bothered by that video, if that does not upset you, whether you are male or female, guess what? You're a part of the fucking problem. As a woman, you're just more than happy to take advantage of the situation, which makes you a master manipulating asshat. You can claim to be independent and all this other crap, but in reality, you're still relying on the man, whether he's with you physically or not. Plain and simple as that. You're a definite piece of shit if you take advantage of this situation. And so, again, if you as a female are not bothered by this video that you just saw, you are 100% a part of the fucking problem. And if you claim to be feminist, guess what? You're not feminist, because it's a direct contradiction. Because if you truly go for equality, then you want equality for the father as well as the mother on equal grounds. So if you're not for that, you're not truly a feminist, and you're just a gynocentric, self-absorbed, self-centered piece of shit. And as a male, if you're not bothered by this, then you are literally a doormat, and you deserve exactly this sort of treatment, to be honest with you, since you are so "we're not worthy" towards females. You're just as bad as women in this regard. You're just a piece of shit male, and you should be fighting against this shit that you just saw, and fighting for change. Speaking out against gynocentrism. Speaking out against this constant catering and pandering to females. It's only gonna make things worse if you don't. And you are solely responsible for everything that goes wrong for males now, later, and forever. It's up to us men to stand up and speak out against this type of shit. Justice for fathers, equality for fathers, so on and so forth. Men are just as important, if not more important, than mothers and females when it comes to children especially. Just as this video presented itself, if you haven't gotten that idea yet. One of the biggest facts that is often regurgitated is the whole, if there's no fatherly involvement, the child is likely to get addicted to some sort of something and act out in school, that type of thing. That goes to show the importance of fatherly discipline and fatherly role modeling, being an example for your kids. If females were so perfect and so goddamn excellent at, being a parent and not needing a father figure in that child's life, then that wouldn't be a fact. In fact, it seems like the more feminine influence, especially on boys, there are upon raising them, the worse the male will be in his life. This furthermore shows just how important a fatherly role is. If you haven't learned anything from this video, if you haven't gotten bothered by what you've heard in that TV program thing there, then there's no hope. You're either a piece of shit human being, you're an idiot, a retard, ignorant as fuck, or something. I don't know. I can't really think of anything else more that I could really say other than you gotta fight for what's right, the good fight.